Hey, Sean.
How are you?
I'm
Nice
good.
to
How are
meet you.
you? You too. Excuse my dinosaur comforter in the background.
That is, I'm not touching. That is very, it's totally cool.
We have a almost 3-year-old, so this is
That
actually
is
where my
awesome.
husband sleeps. He got kicked out of the room. She sleeps with me, so it's
Yeah,
that season of life.
it is that. I believe me, I've been there. So there you go.
Luckily, he's understanding because this
Yeah.
would not work out if he weren't.
Well, but he gets to sleep through the night. So there you go.
That's Thank you.
But
When he
good.
complains, I'm like, I will gladly switch with
Do
you.
you want to switch? Have it. Have it.
She
There's-
won't allow it. She won't allow it.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you for doing this with me. I have notes.
Nice. I'm so excited.
I am so excited. In this TMA group, so the Motherhood Anthology, it's all women. It's mostly motherhood photographers.
Right.
I think in the Facebook group, so there's a free community and then a paid community. I think there's something like 650 members.
Wow.
And yeah, so these are women. Some have been in business for a long time. Some have switched
Mhm.
from weddings to just focus on motherhood. And then there are a lot of people just starting out. So
Sure.
when Kim asked me, do you want to do a case study and have another photographer that you've mentored come on? Would you rather have a guest come on? I was like, I have been wanting to talk to Sean for
That's great.
it's just, I'm sure you know this, but when you have your head so far in the like what you do, just
Hmm.
like that's how you learn, right? So all these photographers have only heard other photographers speak on how they should
Yeah.
price themselves or do IPS, in-person sales, or any of that. And
Right.
what's so beautiful about what you do is there's so many people who can do what you do and do it
Right.
beautifully, including computers now.
Yeah.
So how are you going to bring value? And so I wanted to bring you on, and I'm going to let you talk a lot, but I'm
No,
fanning
no,
over
I'm
here
good. I'm
because
great. I'm great. Thank you. I'm
yeah,
very grateful. I loved your article. That was really, really well
thank
written.
you.
Very good gift of writing. I mean,
Thank
you
you.
can take beautiful pictures. That's for sure.
Thank
But
you.
you definitely express yourself really well. So you
I
should keep
appreciate
going.
that. I really
Yeah.
appreciate that. I love writing. So just to open it up, I feel like this quote by you sums you up. It's a creative business is when you get paid to get lost. That is
Yeah.
probably my favorite thing you've ever said
Mhm.
and what I talk about a lot. And I'm going to go back to that, but I kind of want to talk a little bit about you have a law degree, you were an investment banker, financial executive,
Mhm.
um, and then you worked for Preston Bailey, which for those of you who don't know, incredible director, designer. He's so talented. You worked for him for what, 6 years?
Almost six
Um,
and a half. Yeah, I ran his
yeah.
business almost 6.5 years.
So my big question is knowing that, how did you go from the law investment banker stuff to wanting to work with creative? Yeah. How did
It
that
was,
happen?
I wish it was more like, oh, there was, well, like, I mean, I'm not a religious person, but God has a plan. But if you had told me when I was an investment banker that I was going to be running someone who basically did decor for a living, for events, I would be like, what are you talking about? Like someone does that stuff. But no, I was running at my own food delivery business and had started getting into catering because we were affected by 9/11 and I needed to try to see if I could get some catering gigs, and I thought Preston could do that. He's not that person, but as he just does decor, he doesn't do planning. But we got to talking, and that my business was not in good shape, and neither was his. Preston was in deep debt, and I thought that because of my background that I could help raise him money to get out of debt, which I couldn't do. But along the way of talking to him and learning, I was like, I could run your business. I could help you run your business. And so we fought like cats and dogs I mean, that's important to the conversation because like I had a very, investment banker lawyerly way of saying, well, we'll do this
Yes.
by this and this by this, and this is the way the creative process is going to work, which is you'll get it done on a schedule. And he's like, it doesn't work that way, baby. So we fought, and he fired me 10 times. I quit 10 times. And we found our way, we just found our way together. And that was pretty remarkable. And we had a really great run and did a lot of what I still think is it's what I love is that Preston still refers to me, and he's out there teaching too, and he still refers to the work we did together to upend the way people think about business, right? Because but before we started, it was all about, pricing the object and, not
Yes.
really getting paid for what was between his ears, which is the most valuable piece of it, right?
Yep.
And so how do you do that? And how do you start to manifest that in so many different ways? And that just sent me down the road of creative business. And then at the time I was working with Preston, I started working with Vincent Wolf, who was his dear friend and who's a really name interior designer. So if anyone knows anything about interior design, you know about Vincent Wolf. And I started helping not Vincent with his business, but he had a lot of things going on. So he's doing hotels and he was doing restaurants and condominiums and that kind of stuff. And I started and licensing and all that stuff. So I started helping him with that. And they were both great to let me split my time between the two.
It's
And then,
amazing.
I was like, okay, it's time for me to go out on my own. And so then about more than 15 years ago now, I left and started working with all kinds of creative businesses. So I work with, tons of photographers and
Yeah.
tons what's so fascinating about the wedding business is that there's 43 different businesses associated with it, right? So that set me down like working with caterers and photographers
Yep.
and planners
Yep.
and of course interior designers and architects and people related to those businesses. So I really love the creative process and I love the idea of finding, value in something that is wonderfully irrational, right? Because
Yes.
the
Yeah.
technical is the technical is a technical. I
Yep.
mean, today, like when I started, digital photography wasn't a thing, right?
Same.
And so, like literally, what has happened in just photography alone is actually kind of like you would think would be really hard and against what I do, but it's like the best because the only reason someone would pay a photographer today is because of what they're able to do to capture a level of emotion that just the technical can't do, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, because the
Absolutely.
machine can do so much,
Yep.
right? But it can't see what the human eye can see, right?
And what I love
Which
about
is
it too is like, so I feel like the word luxury gets overused a lot in the industries, but I get why people use it because they're like, well, how do I differentiate myself? But my thing is photography and weddings in general, any kind of photography you do is a luxury. If someone pays you
Mhm.
$10, it's a luxury. It's not a
Yeah,
necessity. So my
right.
thing is we should get paid a lot because it's
Yeah,
not a necessity.
no.
So that's you were a huge reason, and you didn't even know this. I think I told you this in the email,
Mhm.
but you were a big reason why I changed my commission fee. Between you and Matthew Wingard, which I talk about all the time, and I
Mhm.
know he loves you too. We were talking one day, and he was like, hold on, your fee, like sitting fee, is so
Mhm.
low,
Right.
and then like you're making the bat on the products, which is how I
Mhm.
was taught, which is so many of
Right.
us are like you charge which it makes sense
Yeah.
because in the beginning people were afraid to spend money with you. They're like, I'm going to pay how much and not get
Right.
anything from it. But he's like,
Mhm.
you have to charge for your vision. Like there's
Right.
only so many sessions you can do in your lifetime, and that's what they need. So I upped my commission fee is 1450, and so it's
Right.
almost 1500, and that comes with nothing.
Yeah, it's great.
So it's great. But I know I'm against the grain, and a lot of photographers don't do it that way. And my
Mhm.
clients are I call them my unicorn clients because they have to
Right.
have money, but they also have to really value photography because
They
to
go
pay
together.
someone $1,500 for nothing, I mean, I want to say nothing, but I mean like a tangible or a digital file. But
Well, it's the placebo effect, though.
yeah,
So placebo effect is really, really important, and I think it's incredibly important for photographers. And to not get it and not grasp it is just to walk away from everything that's about. So the placebo effect, so like if you're going to charge someone $1,500 just for a sitting session, it's going to be for whatever an hour or two that you're going to do, if that, right? Then that means that they're going to invest the placebo effect. Don't hear snake oil. Don't hear like manipulation,
yes,
hear placebo, which is that a sugar pill makes real change, right? That's what a placebo is. So and what we have is that the more you invest, so here's the example, it's straightforward. If you go and you buy a $50 face cream or you buy $100 face cream, the people that buy the $100 face cream and they spend after 90 days and they've studied and studied and studied this and effectively the same ingredients, the same everything. It's just branding and semiotics meaning the signaling of using that more expensive face cream. It makes you feel, you do the work, you feel better, you feel like your skin is better, they always ask the question, would you pay more than $100, right, for this face cream if you had to buy it again? And the answer almost 90% of the time is yes,
Yeah.
right? So that means same ingredients, same product, same everything, and you feel like you got more value than you
Yep.
paid for it. Because if you would pay more than the $100, right, you would feel like, wait a second, I got a lot of value out of that. So that's the placebo effect,
Yeah.
which is, and so why does that matter? Because at a certain point, it becomes absurd. If you charged $100,000 for an hour, no one's going to pay you, and I
Yeah.
get that. But what you're saying is like relative to what could be, maybe someone would take your picture for $100 and you're charging $1,500. That that placebo is really making sure that what happens is that there's an investment not in you, but in themselves, right? So they're really going to be
Mhm.
open because I think that photography is this intangible ability to like someone who's trading in emotion at all, right? Is that ability to get someone to be vulnerable to you, right? In
Yeah.
a moment, to give
Yeah.
that moment to you and
Yep.
not just be performative, but be really give that moment to you, especially in your world of everything you're doing. I mean, vulnerability is all the things you're doing, whether it's
Yeah.
motherhood or it's any of the work that you're doing, weddings, of course, right? But really, it's the work that you're very focused on is so important that you get someone to be willing to be vulnerable. Well,
Hmm.
that starts with an investment, and that investment is not really an investment in you, even though you're the one receiving the money. It's their investment in themselves,
That's
right?
such a
And that's
beautiful way to frame it. And it's 100, and we talk about all the time. You're investing in your family, you're investing in yourselves, like with boudoir and stuff. But I've never thought of it when they pay. Like I know things that I spend more money on, they
Mhm.
do tend to have more value to me. So it makes sense logically, but to frame it like that is such a beautiful way to frame it where you
Thank
are
you.
taking and you talk about taking the chance
Yeah.
and the promise and the demand and like all of
Mhm.
that stuff. So I think that plays into that of they are investing in themselves and they are putting more on the line. It's
Yeah.
more of a risk, which to
Mhm.
me that's art. Art is a risk.
Yeah.
Just like you say,
Yeah.
we don't know what the end product's going to be, but we're going to take this chance together.
Right.
We're going to take this risk together.
Yeah, and it switches the energy dynamic of basically turning from you being a salesperson of like, well, show me what you got, right? Which is great. I mean, if you have that and like take the picture and know if I like it, I'll buy it, right? Type of thing
Yeah.
to let's do this together and let me be really vulnerable to what you're asking of me. And that
Yes.
gives you just a better chance of success, right? As a
Yes.
photographer, you
Yeah.
get that emotional moment and you get it, right? And
Yeah.
so that's the for me is like it's quite frankly it's a self-fulfilling prophecy,
Yeah.
right? And so if you're not going to do that, if what you're doing is making all your money on the back end and oh you're going to love the image and I'll frame it for you and it'll be wonderful, it'll be living in your house or living in a with digital presentation whatever all that you decide to do, then you're just selling a product, right? And they know
Yes.
it, right? And
Yes.
so it's really, really hard. The products are, and I think products get a bad connotation because a product is toothpaste, but a product is also a Picasso,
Yeah.
right? And so once it's made, it's a product, right? And
Yes.
so it's what you're getting, what you're saying, what we're talking about today is getting paid before the product exists, right? Is creating the product. It's one thing to create the product and then the product exists,
Yeah.
right? So what we're talking about is just creative flow of
Yeah.
getting to what it is, right? And
Yeah.
then the rest of it
Because
is
I
manifestation.
think so it's hard because it's also like it's so personal of how you want to run your business. There are people who want to be volume based. They're busy. They're like, this is my part-time job, or
Mhm,
I'm not in it for the love of the artistry.
mhm,
But for me, that I went to school for photography. It's all I've
mhm.
ever done since I was 16. And I very much I know the photos are important, but honestly, let's say I shot all film, which some sessions I do, and
Right.
it never came back.
Mhm.
They're still going to remember that session and leading up to that
Yeah.
session because that's the
Yeah.
most important part. Like, yes, you want the photos in the end. I can do that with my eyes closed. That's not the
Yeah.
value of this. So that's where I had to be like, products, I get the highest quality, but at the end of
Mhm.
the day, are they thousands more in value than if they were to go to like Shutterstock or make their own album, right?
Yeah.
No, but they couldn't have those products if we didn't create that vision together and they didn't take that risk on me. So that's where I'm like the value has to be on me as the artist and then investing in themselves, which I'm going to start using that now that you said
Yeah,
that. I
yeah,
love
please
that so
do. I mean, I hope
much.
that you do. And I think, look, it's also really, really important that we get the spectrum of things, because at the end of the day, you're taking a picture, right?
Mhm.
And so we all can take pictures on our phones, and they can
Yeah.
be, AI
Beautiful.
can be done incredibly well and modified to be what you want it to be. So it's not the delivery of the product is not the thing, right? Because there are today the distinction between very good and professional is infinitesimal,
Yeah.
right? So the point of this is like you have to associate yourself with the thing that you find to believing in quality, right?
Yeah.
So again, you can give a fashion example, you can give a lot of examples, but just give a car example. So like one of the most popular SUVs in terms of demand and wait list and stuff like is a Lamborghini
Man,
SUV that
yeah.
looks like every other SUV,
Yeah.
right? It costs $300,000,
Yeah.
and yet people are waiting in line for it, right? But you got it, you get it because that's what you value and that's what you want, and that's how you want to be perceived as someone that would do that. I don't judge somebody who wants that. If that's how you choose to spend your money, that's how you choose to
Yeah.
spend your money. Some people spend their money on fashion, some people spend it on vacations and homes and other, right? So if you
Yeah.
have that money and you want to spend it that way, that's the way you should spend it. And that gets back to the idea that someone wants to capture this moment in their lives with themselves, with their family, whatever it is that you're doing with their children, all of those things are a moment, and those moments are in by definition fleeting, right?
Yeah.
And so how you get there is so important. How you
Yeah.
have that journey together is so important, because what you're doing is creating a tapestry of a memory that is going to be indelible for them,
Yeah.
right? As much as the photo is, right? And so if you're doing that, right, and that's what's important for you, where I'm going with this is that that's not the same business as someone that's doing it as a side hustle,
Yeah.
taking some pictures of someone like that because they just want to deliver images,
Yeah.
right? Which is great. That's awesome.
Yes.
And some families just want to like document the
Absolutely.
time, right? And that's totally cool, right? But don't be in the same business. And what that means from a business perspective is do not legitimize that other business because it isn't yours,
Yes.
right? So when someone says, well, I could go get like, I could pay $500 for the session and you're charging me 3,000. I mean, what the answer shouldn't be, well, most people respond to that. Well, I give you this, and this,
Yes. Yes.
and
Yes.
we do
Yes.
this, and
Yep.
this. And what the answer should be is due respect, we're not in the same
Yeah.
business.
I'm not your person either.
Just like, I'm not your person. I'm not that we don't do the same thing. We're not
Yeah.
there. And they can say, well, you guys are just basically taking pictures. I'm like, well, yeah, the fry cook at a fast food restaurant is flipping a burger, just like the fanciest steakhouse is flipping a burger. I guess they're in the same business too. And nobody would say that, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
whatever analogy you have. It's like the cheap version and what you do are not the same thing,
Yeah.
right? And if you agree with that, then you can change your perception of
Yep.
what you're doing and honor that if you're just there to take some pictures, have at it,
Yeah.
right? You can think about like, and it's true for just any creative business. There is the production of the thing, you want to, design a room, you want to, bake a cake, you want to, take a boudoir picture. It's all the same in the sense of what is the level of care? What is the level of journey? What is the level of intensity that you're doing based on relationship, right? If the relationship is simply transactional, you'll take a great picture,
Yeah.
right? But if the relationship is generating a level of emotional intelligence that results in the ephemeral that makes somebody see themselves differently,
Yeah.
then you've done the work,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. This stuff always just like, oh, because that's why so many of us get into it because we want I really think art is inherently has a lot of selfish things. Like I love giving back, but it's also like when you go to charity, I love the way it makes me feel when someone's like, that's not me. And I'm like, that's you. That like I
Yeah,
don't have some magic trick. Like that's film. I haven't even edited it. Like that's you. There's just
right.
it's just so beautiful. And what I started to realize too is that I was getting really resentful when I was charging that get them in low and sell them to them high because so
Mhm.
much of my work was on the front end and I was giving
Right,
so much of myself and I would spend 2 days designing wall gallery that I didn't even know if they were going to spend money on.
right.
And I was like, this is not, even though I learned like something wasn't connecting and I felt like a
Mhm.
salesperson. I didn't feel like the expert. I
Right.
felt like I was saying, these are my prices. Tell me what you want
Mhm.
instead of saying, tell me about you and your family and
Right.
what you feel and what you need, and then I'm going to tell you how much it would cost for me to do that for you. Like that to
Yeah.
me feels so much better.
Yeah.
Because people don't know. They throw out an arbitrary number half the time. I don't know. I spent $500 on my other photographer and they gave me the digitals. Like they don't know. I
No, they
know
don't
how
know.
much it should cost because this is what I do and I'm the expert. So
Yeah,
that's what I hope about that.
and taking it the next place. And so if it's that investment in themselves, investment in the journey, investment in what they could be, then the hope is that what you create for them is not judged by the ultimate product. It's judged by the experience to the product,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so like if food is a great example, right? So if you go to a really, really high-end restaurant, I mean, I love Unreasonable Hospitality. It's a
Oh yeah, me too.
book.
That's what we spend our
And
money on in this family.
right. And so that's what we do. Right. So
Yeah.
we spend Unreasonable Hospitality, the book Unreasonable Hospitality, how it built 41 Madison to what it was is amazing. It's an amazing story. And it is about how do I create an experience that's indelible for you, that
Yeah.
you're going to feel differently about yourself after you've had it. Right. And then whether that's a meal, whether it's a session with you or
Yeah.
whatever it is you're going to go through, how do you get someone to feel differently about themselves?
Yeah.
And that's actually your promise, right? So
Yeah.
my price is this is what I'm going to have the bandwidth to do, right? In order to get you to think about yourself some way else,
Yeah.
right? And whether you're just starting or you've been doing this forever, that's actually a responsibility, right?
Yeah.
That's actually a responsibility. You can convince yourself that you're transactional, but that's a very risky place to play because think about photography, right? The cost of photography 15 years ago was cost of film, cost of camera,
Yeah.
cost. And now the
Yes.
cost of photography is almost nothing,
Yeah.
right? So like we've come so far and like think about where we're gonna go,
Yeah.
right? And so like the idea of, in terms of digital editing, now a human being digitally edits, but not going to be the case in 3 years, right?
And you know what's so funny is bringing that up. So I edit on the side for other photographers because this also
Mhm.
allows me to just take the clients I want because I take a max of 2 clients a month. It's also my
Right.
personality. I'm very
Yeah.
introverted. It takes a
Mhm.
lot out of me and I spend
Mhm.
about 2 weeks just planning for clients. So I edit on
That's
the side
awesome.
and it's like I know how cheap the new AI editing is. I know how cheap
Mhm.
it is to cull. I am probably one of the highest price editors and I have people that come back and come back and come back.
Yeah.
And that's my thing too, is they see the value. I say to them, I'm going to take the time with every wedding. I'm going to make
Mhm.
sure it's color correct. Like I'm going to go through every single photo and color match. And it's just like,
Mhm.
I think people are so scared of that and thinking they're going to be replaced, but it's like you are going to be replaced if you don't have value and if you don't understand how you're apart. And that leads me into I cannot quote it like you do, but one of my favorite things that you talk about is if when you're describing your business, if the
Mhm.
opposite can't be true. Can you please talk about that? I love when you talk about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So if you said and you're doing motherhood photography, it's like, well, I promise you the most beautiful pictures for your family, an easy, stress-free experience that, you can just, sit back, relax, and enjoy the shoot, right? What's the opposite of that? It's like, I promise you the pictures will suck, that it's going to be super stressful, and you're going to hate every minute of it and we'll be done then. Like you can't say that,
Yeah.
right? Because if you said it, right, you never would get a job clearly, right? So the opposite of so that means that this idea that you're going to do a beautiful stress-free shoot, right, has to be true, right? And by the way, you're going to create stress because there's uncertainty about whether these images are going to be what you're going to be.
Mhm.
So saying that you're going to do something, so two things. One, you're not telling me anything when you say beautiful, because of course they're going to be beautiful. But you also are lying to me when you tell me it's going to be stress-free. No story, whether it's a long movie, a saga, a book, a photo shoot, or anything like that, anything creative is about storytelling, right? And no story is any good without tension. It may not work, right? And so if you're going to be in this place of creating value, then you have to define yourself. You have to
Yeah.
define what I'm after. You have to say, I am looking to, reveal the beautiful imperfections that you have, right? The dimples, the moles, the things, those things that you might be judging yourself for, I am here to highlight. The opposite of that absolutely can be true. I will never show your bad side, right?
Yeah.
I'll only show you the only show the beautiful parts of you, right? Okay, if someone wants to be that kind of photographer, that's great. Like I'm only going to be the glossy part, right? But if you're saying I'm going to be the one that's going to just dig into the, to the essence of motherhood, like where I'm going to do all my shots are posed and we do, these beautiful newborn shots with just all, interesting poses and things like that, as opposed to, the reality of a baby screaming, right?
Yeah.
So both of those things are beautiful shots, right?
Yes.
But they're not necessarily yours, right? And so you have to own your lane, which doesn't mean you're just a one trick. All I do is that, but it means that you have an essence of underneath that matters to you. So, maybe beauty is in form, right? Maybe beauty is in like the utter reality. I mean, maybe there's a million ways to approach photography where you can say, hey, there's in the wedding world, there's Clayne Gessel, right? Who is
Hmm.
like this super high, oh my God, look at the glorious shot. And then there's Liz Banfield, who's like total, slice of life type
Yeah.
of photographer. They're both freaking amazing,
Yeah.
right? And what they do, you would never hire one if you wanted the other,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So they're starting out with those like, what is it that you're looking for, right? You're not looking for a great photographer because everybody's great, right?
Yeah.
What you're looking for is the essence of underneath. And if you're not willing to put yourself out there, look, I appreciate those that want to do a lot and they want to be all things to everybody. And they're out there trying to be the Starbucks of photographers. God bless you. Go do it. I mean,
I
have
did
at it.
not seem for me thinking about it.
That is just not for me. I dig deeper holes. I'm only here to serve the people that I
Yeah.
mean to serve. And if it's twice a month or once a week or whatever it is, that's awesome. Because even if it was once a week, that's still 50 people. If it's,
Yeah.
twice a month, that's 25 people. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, and the idea that you're able to serve thousands and thousands and thousands of people is just not it,
Yeah.
right? So you're here to serve no matter what. You're here to serve a very, very small audience. And most of the people I'm sure listening are, if you did 100 shoots, that's a ton, right?
Hmm.
So like the idea of getting that out there, that's still just 100 people, right?
Yeah.
It's 100 people on the planet that you serve per year. I mean, 500 would be absurd, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that would be something you're not going to do. And if you did that, then okay, great. Like you're running a bigger business and it's probably not just you, right?
Yeah.
So okay, now you're in the HR business, right? So that's fine. It's great, but it's got to be driven by what is it that you're trying to do and how you're going to try to tell stories. So the opposite, has to be able to be true means that you have to stake your world, right? You have to be out there and you have to go first, right? You have to
Yeah.
say, this is what I care about. If this is what you care about, this is what we're going to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I think
then
that's
you go
why a
from
lot
there.
of people are afraid of being vulnerable. And I think that's where I push it a little bit because I just feel like it's unfair to ask our clients to give so much of themselves and be vulnerable if we're not doing it. And I think there's ways to do it. Like for instance, I talked a lot about my motherhood journey and depression, and now I'm
Mhm.
on an SSRI and like I'm finally feeling the fog lift, but
Mhm.
I don't show any pictures of my daughter. So there's a
Right.
way that you can still be very private but very open. And the amount I'm telling you, the amount of clients of women I've gotten from posting this stuff because they're like, no one
Mhm.
talks about this, but it's
Right.
so much more than just making friends or having people relate to me. It's that they now know that if they come to me, I'm going to hold that space and it's a judgment free zone. They
Yeah.
wouldn't know that if I didn't put that out there. They would
Right.
be like, yes,
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you a little bit about my family, but I'm not going to tell you that the first year of my life, I wanted to drive off a bridge, or the first year of my
Right.
baby's life, I wanted to drive off a bridge. But these moms come to me and they're like, I can't say this to anyone else, but I really hate motherhood right now.
Yeah.
Okay, I got
Yeah.
you. I got you.
No,
Which
and I
makes the
totally.
session so much more beautiful and real and just authentic.
Yeah, because it's like you're not creating an illusion of something that for you, you're not creating an illusion of what isn't, right?
Yeah.
You're saying, this is where I am today. This
Yeah.
is what this is for me. And I still want the beauty of what motherhood is, but I'm suffering, right?
Yeah.
And there's an element of, okay, I'm, you don't want to suffer to stay suffering. People want to stay suffering so that they can move through the suffering,
Yeah.
right? And so if that's where you're about and that's what you're doing, I think that's a wonderful place to be. And I just think like that, I think I want to be very clear about vulnerability. Whatever you do in your personhood to be vulnerable in your life, that's great, but you are not a person in your business, right? You are a character in your business.
Yes.
Because here's the thing. if you overshare, you talk about, hey, what's going on in whatever part of your life that's there
Yeah.
that is not relevant to the photography and it would probably be a distraction,
Yeah.
right? So you're sharing what you want to share. You're sharing what you believe is going to make your art better. You're a character, right? And so the best way to think about that is imagine if you wanted to go to see a Broadway show, you spent all your time and energy to go see a Broadway show, and you're so looking forward to it, and the actors like had a bad fight with her significant other and like does a bad performance and then said, well, I had a bad fight, so I couldn't do my work. And you would be like, what are you
Yep.
talking about? I paid my money. I needed you to perform the way you're supposed to perform
Yep.
because you need to do what you need to do because you're a professional doing what you're doing. And that is true for a photographer too. It's like, I need you to
Absolutely.
be vulnerable in a way that reveals that which will make your art better
Yep.
because you're getting paid to do the thing that allows somebody to change in that part of themselves. You're not a person because as a person, right, they would need to see the all tapestry of you and care about all of the things about you,
Yeah.
right? But they don't want that, right? They want to have a moment and they want you to inhabit that moment with them, which doesn't
Yes.
mean that you're not being you. It just means you're only revealing that aspect of you that is relatable to those you
Yeah.
seek to serve in that
Yep.
moment, right? And by being vulnerable in that way, right, you're able to tap into that's just a piece of you. And that piece of you is really generative when you're doing the work that you're doing because you can give over that piece of you, right, to them. And then you go first, right?
Yeah.
You said it so beautifully. You have to go first. Your vulnerability has to go first because if you expect them to reveal themselves to you so that you can capture whatever that is, you have to go first. It's your
Yep.
job, right?
Yep.
And if you're not willing to do that, then I want to say to you is like maybe just do it for fun.
Yeah.
Maybe just do it. Maybe just do it as a hobby for yourself. But if you're going to take somebody's money to go and do this for someone, own the responsibility of the change that they're seeking from you, right? And if they're just doing something expedient, they can go to freaking store,
JC
right?
Penney's.
JC Penney's and get their picture taken,
Do they
right?
still do that there?
So
I think they do.
I don't. I think they do. You know, we are agreeing. It's like if you just want the image, my point is like, why would you do that? Just get someone to hit a button on their phone, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
probably better for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it's the
Um,
next level that we're talking about.
so I just listened to yesterday. Was it Crazy Eddie's? What's it?
Okay,
Is that
the
what it's
entire,
called?
yes, that's
I
awesome. I
love
love it.
that
Yeah,
podcast
that's so
episode.
fun. Thank you.
So where did I have on here when you were talking about it? Where'd it go? So, oh, there were two quotes that I really liked that I kind of want you to go into. So, one, you said idiosyncrasy and the beauty of other, which I
Hmm.
love.
Hmm.
And then you were talking about value and the beauty of unknowingness is opportunity. So,
Yeah.
like, if you want to expand, both of those, I stopped my walk and I sent a reminder to myself. I was like, remember these quotes. They're so good. They're so good.
Well, the beauty of other is that you are paid because you're paid to discover what could be. And what I'd say in another way is that you're actually not paid to answer the questions that's in front of you. So if someone comes to you and they say, hey, would you take a beautiful shot of, I have my newborn, I have my mood board, I have my family shots. And we just want to capture like, the idea that we're a sports family. Like, and can you do that? Right. So the answer to that question is, can you capture a sports family? Right. And you can answer that question and sure, yes, right. But that's actually not why you get paid. You get paid to ask better questions, right?
Yeah.
And so, oh, so you guys are super physical. Like you guys are like that. Is it about the competition? Is it about the fitness? Is it about the teamwork? What is it about? Right. So you could take the picture saying we are all captured athletic family, but you get paid to ask those questions about what part of the athletics do you care about, right? What is it that you're about? Because you can be any of those things, right?
Yeah.
Is it teams? Is it fitness? Is it competition? What is it, right? And so and more and more and more. So you get paid to ask better questions, and therefore when you ask better questions, you will find the beauty of other. You will
Yeah.
say, hey, maybe I'm not going to take that picture of you playing a sport because maybe it is about just connection and team and something like that. And I'll capture that differently. right? What if we did this because it's about the team and it's not really about
Mhm.
the competition, right? And great, well, awesome. Or if it's about fitness, maybe I'm going to make you guys be like super exhausted and whatever it would be, and it'd be like the grittiness of it all. I don't know, right? But the point of that is you would never discover that if all you did was answer the question,
Yes.
right? So that's what that means. And idiosyncrasy means you still got to walk your own path. You have to walk the thing that matters to you. You have to say, what is the lens that you see, right? Because you see a world that your clients don't see, right? That has to be, that is the truth of it all, right? And those, you can run away from it. You can be whatever it is. It is, whether it's your faith, whether it's religion, whatever it is. I don't believe in hope. Like, I hope that I'm really good, or I hope that
Yeah.
tomorrow is great. I don't believe in any of that, right? That's just hope, right? And that's great. Kill hope, right? But I do really believe in faith, faith that I have this ability to see something that other people don't see. And that a lot of times your job is to know that you don't see it, right? And that the person that you're seeking to serve doesn't see it and that you do. And that once you show it to them, it's what they would always have wanted to
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
right? That's the whole point. Is like, and especially when you talk about boudoir shots, is like, and you say so beautifully that, oh my God, that's you, right? Well, they never saw themselves that way,
Yep.
right? And then you showed them a way that they could see themselves, whatever that might be for them, right? And because you did, they now can reveal themselves to themselves in a way they never could, right?
Yep.
And they never would be able to, right? They wouldn't look in the mirror. No one else would take a picture like that. Nothing would show them that but what you did. And so if you own the responsibility of, because I see a world you did not see, if I can give that gift, a gift is a gift. I will share it with you. It is your decision to take it from me because you're the one that's receiving the gift. But if you do, you will then be able to embrace the idea that you see something you never could have, right? And if you can live that way, then you have to know the idiosyncrasy of that. Because I don't want you to see everything that you couldn't see. I only want you to see
Yeah.
this sliver of what I see, right? The way I see color, the way I see form, the way I see, the light, the way I do all of these things is the thing that I'm born with gifts. We're all born with gifts, right?
Yep.
We all can do different things. Like, too much information about me, but my family are all actors and singers and they're
Hmm.
amazing. I'm not, right? So I watch them
Thanks.
and they
No, I'm
like
just kidding.
they will tell me, I love you, Dad. Please do not sing. That's awesome. And
Even
they're
for the
all
shower, Sean.
not even the shower. They're
The
like, yeah,
car.
just by yourself, by yourself with the windows up.
Oh, do you do any kind of art? Like you just get this, is it just that you love receiving art so much that you get it, or do you create it all?
Only writing, but I don't really write with fiction. I just love the creative. For me, what's interesting, business is my art, right? Because I
Yes.
don't approach business the way that you're taught in business school. Like
Yeah.
for me, it's all this, it's about this manifestation of other. I'm the
Hmm.
one who, too much information, but like, I invented the design fee for Preston with Preston, and
Yeah.
his design fee was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And so that's creative, right? Because like, how is that going to manifest? What's
Hmm.
it going to be? I've started three different businesses. Had seven different careers, right? So for me, business and the story of business is actually fiction, right? It's like we're writing it. We're
Hmm.
inventing it. Fiction is it hasn't been made up yet,
Yeah.
right? So I love doing that. And then creating, I know I love structure behind it, but I love the idea of business being like a slinky, right? So we all have kids, right? We all know when you have a slinky and it's down the stairs and you step on it and how angry you are, right? As opposed when it's sitting on the shelf and it's beautiful. Well, so long as you didn't bend or break one of those ribs when you stepped on it, right? It's the same toy, right? So for
Yeah.
me, the beauty of improvisation is once those ribs are set, once you get what those ribs are, and so long as you never, ever, ever bend or break them, right? Then you can do whatever you want, right? With
Yeah.
that, you could twist it, turn it, and make it look completely different than what it might be. And there's no right answer because the toy is just as beautiful strung down the stairs as it is sitting on a shelf, right?
Yeah.
And you can play all the way through with that. So that, I love the question because that's my creativity. It's like, well, what
Yeah.
if? What if you did it this way? What if you did it that way? And why not? Why not make it about, hey, you know, pay me $1,500 and let's just have a really great conversation. And if it really looks like you're not going to be vulnerable, I'll give you $500 back. I'll keep your
Yeah.
1,000. But
I
I'll
love
show
that.
you and talk to you and have you
Yeah.
that way because that's real value.
Yeah.
So getting that story down is what's really
Yeah.
fun for me, right?
I had a client, I talk about her a lot. She's Orthodox, and so her
Mhm,
own family didn't even know she was doing a session. The lab
mhm,
that I did her prints from had to shut down for the day, so it was an all-woman team, and, like,
right.
no one will ever see these photos except her and her husband. They're in a box, like, in her
That's
room.
great.
But we had several conversations leading up to the session, because it's kind of off topic, but not. I talk about I learn from every client, and they
Mhm,
make me very, I don't know, like, I feel like I'm not an ableist person, but when you talk to someone and you learn something new and you're like, okay, I could do better. I could do better.
mhm,
So I'm
yeah,
talking to her and showing her ideas for lingerie and dresses because I really like to start in a robe or dress because
mhm,
I don't want people to feel naked from the beginning.
right.
And I'm talking to her and she's like, okay, I picked out my lingerie, but I'm having a disconnect with the dress. Like she said, I feel too vulnerable in a dress. And I'm sitting here going, you're okay in lingerie, you're naked, but not a dress. She's like, Shannon, you have to think about when I wear a dress in public, I have long sleeves on, I have
Mhm,
pants on underneath. So the thought of having a backless dress is more revealing than lingerie because my husband doesn't even see me in a dress. He sees me in
right.
lingerie. And I was just like, oh my gosh. So toward the end of it, genuinely asked me, she's like, would you do therapy with me? Because I can't even talk to women in the community. I was like, well, no, because I'm not
Right.
a licensed
Yeah.
therapist. But like that feeling, like we hadn't even taken the photos yet. And she was
Mhm,
already like just parts of herself that she had to sit with that she became so uncomfortable that she's like, can you jump on the phone for 10 minutes? Because I'm sweating. And I'm like, and I had to be like, my job is to make you sit in that uncomfortable and then push through it. And no, I'm not going to do it to a point where I'm making you feel uncomfortable in like a trust way, but
right.
an uncomfortable in why is this feeling this way in your body? And is it something that you want to work through and then photograph? So, like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to take that time with her if I was volume based. I wouldn't
Right.
have the hours on the phone to spend with her and talk her down and go, let's work through this. Like, let's figure this out. And that's why a big reason I charge what I charge is I know how much I put into it. And I would rather have 10 clients a year that I spend weeks with
Mhm.
than 50 clients a year that I barely get to know. And there's so much
But
beauty in that.
well, yeah, and I no judgment for those that want the other, but I think that at the end of the day, it's about what is it you need to create and do your best work,
Yeah.
right? So that is that's the the logical extension of everything that we're talking about is that when you think about what you do as an artist and you think about how you go through this, is that you only make two promises, right? And the two promises are your best work, right? I'm going to be prideful about what I'm going to do
Mhm.
and how I'm going to go about getting this done. Like the steps of being revealing, the steps of the actual photography, the ultimate delivery of that photography. That's your way. If someone says, "Hey, you have four other shoots today," right? Then you're not very going to do your best work.
Yeah.
For some people, they can do their best work. I mean, there
Yeah.
are musicians who want to play, once every month, and there are musicians that have to literally play every day,
Mhm.
right? And they might practice, every day. You probably take pictures every day, but you're not going to get out there and perform, like
That's
you
a good
say,
way to
like
look
twice a
at it.
month, right?
Yeah.
And so practicing and performing are two different things,
Yeah.
right? So the idea is that you get paid to perform, right? That's the whole point,
Mhm.
right? So, and the second promise is that you're going to stake your reputation on every single thing that you do. And so if you're going to do 20 shoots a year, you're going to stake your reputation on that shot,
Yeah.
that series of shots because it matters to you so much and that for you this is the work that you're proud of, right? And
Mhm.
that you hope that people see and resonate with, but you're not in control of that, right?
Yeah.
You're prideful of it. You're the one who's like, I went all the way through with this and I really feel great about delivering what I'm delivering. So I
Mhm.
can sign my name to it, literally sign my name to it. And for photographers, you'll literally have to sign your name to it,
Yeah.
right? So like if those are the two promises, anything that jeopardizes those two promises, either you can't do or you have to be paid a massive amount of money to take that risk, right?
Mhm.
And so the one thing you can't do is you can't put out work that you're not super proud of, right?
Yeah.
Because it will be judged no matter what,
Yep.
and you can't ever get away with so the negative of that. Oh, she wanted to do this shoot. We only usually I take 2 weeks to do the shoot, but she needed to do it in 2 days. but I wasn't busy that time. So I just took the money and less money, like half the money, because she didn't have that much. And I did the shoot in 2 days, and like it's like it came out okay, but I was like, they're just okay, right? That's happened so much, right?
Mhm.
But you just gave away your soul. You
Yeah.
just gave away your soul. Now, look, if you got paid 5 times as much, so you got childcare, your husband has got to take the littles away, and you got to do
Mhm.
nothing but that 2 day shoot, and you were able to do exactly what you would do as if you had 2 weeks to prepare,
Yep.
right? Awesome, fantastic. You just got paid the right amount of money to do the work that allowed you to do your best work. And that's
Yep.
not going to be just average, right? Because no one's going to excuse you for the circumstance. That's why you need to do your best work. Your
Mhm.
best work is what you need to do your best work, right?
Yep.
So if that's works for you, great. Like, and and that's the slinky part of things. Because most people don't understand. Let's say you charged 10 for the 2 weeks, right? What should the price be if they're coming for 2 days, presuming that you could do it in 2 days? Well, it ain't five, right?
Yeah.
It's 50, right?
Yeah.
It literally is 50,
Yeah.
right? And most people don't do that. Most
Yep.
people are the other way around. Well, I'm not busy. There's a hole in
Yep.
my schedule. I could use the money. Let me just get that stuff. And so, like, literally now you're just an order taker,
Yep.
right? So if you happen to be busy, that's great. And so, like, if I could give one solid piece of advice to anyone, whether you've been doing this forever or you're just starting out, is like, please don't see your business as a factory. The business as a factory is there's a cap on a price. You can only charge so much,
Yep.
and then it's how much you can deliver, right? For as cheaply as you possibly
It's like the
can. It's
Crazy
a
Eddie's
factory.
story too.
It is a crazy Eddie
Yeah.
story. It's
Everyone
volume.
go listen to that podcast. It's really
Yeah, thank you.
good.
Um, but you're not a factory. You're
Yeah.
not. People will pay what they need to pay for you to do your best work, and you're not there to buy low, sell high, right?
Yeah.
You're just not. You're there to get what you need, no more, no less for what you
Yeah.
need to do, right?
Yeah.
And if you can live in that space, live in the idea that you're not meant to just, you know, find yourself in a volume place, right?
Mhm.
Then and price accordingly, then you'll be so much better off, right?
Yeah.
So the ultimate example of a factory, even though it's not a factory, is a hotel, right? So if you have a resort, in Florida and it's the middle of winter, that's going to be a pretty good price,
Yeah.
right? But the resort maybe, in July when it's super sweltering hot, probably not going to be so high, right?
Yeah.
But guess what? Heading to bed. So if they can get some money to cover off the cost of it, they'll take it,
Yeah.
right? And so please don't be that business.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
And then
please
you
don't
build
be
the
that way.
and then you build the resentment. And I've had people that I mentor come in and they're just like, I don't know, these clients and this and that. And I'm like, you set your price. I know it's hard to hear this, but like you're the only person you can be mad at because you're telling people what to value. You're telling people what they have to
Yeah,
pay. And then you're doing all this extra work and then you're getting resentful. And that's the same thing. Like, oh, I'm not that busy. They need it in 2 days. I guess I could do it. You're just going to end up getting so resentful in that place. And then when you're shooting, you're going to be resentful and it's going to come out in your work and it's going to come out in your art. And it's going to be like, oh, I know I could have made more money doing this. It's just, I fully I fully agree with you on that one. And don't be a
that's awesome.
factory. Yeah. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I've watched it and I've literally had a musician who was just so successful and he loved playing trumpet. And like the reason we started together as one of my first clients and longest clients, was because every time he got up on stage, he would think about how he didn't make enough money playing this one and how much he hasn't charged here.
Yeah.
And he's literally thinking about all the money instead of like,
Yeah.
well, wait a second. You're supposed to play music for the people that are listening to you.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Yeah.
well, I am, but I'm also thinking about all these
The
other
ones
things.
who
And,
paid, yeah.
right.
Oh my
And so
gosh.
like, how is that your best work? And
Yeah.
how are you staking your reputation on the fact that you're like half there playing
Yeah.
the you're playing?
Yeah.
I was like, please don't do that. Please. Well, because people are paying, like you say, the corollary to a luxury spend is that people want to feel alive with the
Yeah.
money they're spending with you.
Yeah.
That's the whole
Yep.
purpose. They don't need to spend it, so they want to spend it, and they're using it to feel alive about
Yeah.
themselves. They're not
Yeah.
just living. They
Yeah.
want to feel alive. It's a part of it makes them feel like this is a life worth living,
Yeah.
and
And
you're then just cheating them.
what's
if all you're
what
thinking about is money.
when you think about it too, like I know it's hard. I get a lot more no's than I do yeses because of my price point. And people who are cold finding me off Google and stuff are going to be like, oh, heck no. I get maybe 2 sessions a year off Google. Like it's not a big
Mhm.
thing for me. It's mostly warm leads, but it's very much like not only charging the almost $1,500 up front. Of course, these are people who are going to be more likely to be able to spend the 25,000 whatever with me on the back end. But also, if you think about it logically, it's plays so much into what you're saying, where get them in low, sell to them after emotionally. I understand from a sales point of view, yes, that makes sense. But I still think you're kind of capping yourself because you haven't really gotten to play to that emotion as much as you would if you had spent the time with them. So I feel like my $10,000 average on a family session is because yes, they have the money, but by the time I present this wall gallery idea to them, they're like, they already know they're going to want these photos because they already know that the time that we spent together, they want to remember that every time they see the photos of their children or the photos of themselves. So I just think, again, it is the placebo effect, but it's also very much the emotional side of spending that time with them. I think that's what has them spend so much money with me on the back end. And yes, I think they would spend thousands on the back end if I didn't spend that time, but I don't think it would be as much money. I really don't think it would be as much. Because they'd be like, there's that beautiful photo of me smiling. But like you said, if I spend the time to get to know, oh, you like sports, here's this photo of your family, like silly, sweating, you guys just right. And they're like, that's my family. Like that's
Mhm.
my family. And now I
Right.
want 10 photos of these on our walls.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Well, look, and it's also it's you're the idea of this is also a range of what they're going to spend, a range of what someone's coming into you for. And you can say, look, I have people that pay me for the session fee, pay me to go here, but usually people wind up spending this much money with me,
Yep.
which I'm sure you're saying,
Yes.
right? So it's not an unknown and it's not a bait and switch. It's not a, hey, let's see what we can sell you.
Yep.
And if you're not charging anything, then all you're doing is what you're describing underneath is that there's just, do you like it or not? And
Yeah.
so if you like it, you'll buy it, right? And if
Yeah.
you don't like it, you won't buy it.
Yeah.
And the part that I want to say to you, which we've covered, but I'm going to say it again, is like you've gone away from that, right? It's not about the thing. It's about the way that they wanted to see the thing, right? It's
Yes.
about the way they wanted to have it expressed, right? It's the idea that they've seen and now they want it manifested in a lot of different ways. And they want the artistry of it, right? They want
Yeah.
the artistry of how you could possibly see it and how, what does it amount to, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so do they really just want to see, your images on, on their phone, right?
Yeah.
They could, right? They can play that game and you've been paid for that. But the reality is that they want to, walk by that. They want to have a moment. They want to be able to capture that was the essence of their family in a way that they
Yes.
can feel, wow, that was awesome,
Yes.
right? So of course the spend is going to be more. Like the
Mm-hmm.
irony of it is like if you're not in, I am all for those that are great salespeople and they're selling products and you could get this and you can get that and you get people focused on that. But if what you truly do is you don't really care
Yeah.
about what they're going to go and do that stuff, then
Yeah.
they're only about, okay, we love this image. What's the best way for us to display it?
Yeah.
That's a different statement from, and here's an example of how you could display it,
Yes.
right? So like it seems like it's very, very close and I'm splitting hairs. It is a completely different business,
Yes,
right?
it is. I completely agree with. And I used to do like, okay, I have these collections, I have this. When someone inquires with me, I'm like, I literally can't tell you how much you're going to spend. Like, I know you're wanting to have an idea. Here's my commission fee. What we're going to do is you're going to fill out this very in-depth questionnaire. I'm going to see what you say that you want. We're going to talk for about an hour, and then I'm going to realistically give you a proposal. That's how I do
Mhm.
it. I'm like, you said you wanted a wall gallery and album. You said your budget was 3 to 5 thousand. You're looking at more of 15 to 20,000. And are you comfortable with that? I have
And
these
I want to blow
very
that
real
up for you.
conversations.
The one thing that I really want to blow up for you, and I
Oh,
think
I'm
that
going to write this
you would
down.
use it, do this way, is that I think that what you're sharing about is not, you've made money real and you should make it unreal. Because
Okay.
somebody could send those pictures to Shutterstock and go
Mm-hmm.
to, whatever, a mass retailer, buy some cheap frames and do it themselves for $300, right?
Yes.
You're going to charge
Yes.
15,000.
Yes.
So the point of this what's the difference between 300 and 15,000? Don't know. The point of this is,
But I never have to explain. That's the thing though. I feel like because you like the trust intention that I built from the beginning with
Mhm.
my process, that's what so many photographers are afraid of. How do I explain why they're paying $5,000 for an album as opposed to 300 from a different store? And I just I never have to explain that to my clients. Like
Right.
they know that they're getting the art and they know I'm not going to give digital files and they have to go through me for this.
Right. So that's a natural extension of what I'm saying is like the way that I think you would best enjoy displaying this art is that number is up to you, right? The number is up
I
to you.
love
Just like an
that.
interior designer, the number is
Yes.
up to you. And it doesn't matter. My point is like interior design informs photography here, right?
Yes. Yes.
So does it really, think about it for a second, does it really matter what the cost of that, for those that are just listening, it's like the dinosaur, cover is, it doesn't matter what it costs,
Yes.
right? It doesn't matter what that thing costs, right? Because it's related to the image on the wall, the paint of the wall, the
Yeah.
pillow, the rug. And so what matters is if you say that room should cost $10,000 to furnish, it doesn't matter what the cost of the comforter is. It doesn't matter. It matters what is your vision
Yes.
for the room, right? And if we can agree that for me to, again, the two promises, for me to have the promise of that this is how I would want my work to be displayed so that you can maximally enjoy it, that is a $10,000 investment, right?
Yes.
Does it matter what the frame costs? No. Right? Does it
Yes.
matter how many frames there are? No.
Yep.
Right? So why did you choose, if it's a wall covering, why did you choose 10 images and not 8? Right?
Yep.
The fact is you chose it because you're the artist and the way you want to display it. Right?
Bingo.
And so the agreement that what I'm trying to short circuit is like, don't ask them, if I could give one piece of advice to you and to everyone
Hmm.
else, please stop asking what their budget is. Right?
Oh, I don't.
Because you tell them,
No, I
because how
know.
could they possibly guess?
Yes.
Because you're the one who knows. Because the point of it is, because someone do it more expensive than you?
Yeah.
Sure. Can someone do it cheaper than you? Sure.
Yeah.
Right. The only one who knows how much it takes for you to sculpt the sculpture, if you will, how much the clay costs,
Yeah.
right, is you, right? You're the only one who knows, right? So
Yes.
if you're asking the question, how much do you want to spend? All you're doing is saying, well, let me just guess if that's the right number
Yeah.
for me,
Yeah.
right? But what you should be doing is saying, look, you said you wanted a
Yeah.
wall cover. Well, this is what that costs from me, right?
Yes.
So if you'd like to get that from me, here's the investment, and here's,
Yeah.
do you like the wall cover or not? Do you like what I've done?
So let me ask you a question then. So I have my process page just says it's going to be 1450 for my commission fee. And then I say at the end of our discovery call, I'll give you a realistic proposal. So where they're having to pick their budget on the questionnaire before our discovery call, because I won't get on the call unless they filled this out. At the very end, I give them a realistic, okay, this is where my framed art starts. This is, and I have on there, if you're thinking you want to fill your home with wall art, select the 10,000 plus. The reason I do this is I feel like before I spend an hour with them on the phone, I need some kind of like, I need you to know that you're going to start here. So
Definitely.
instead of asking for a budget, I also don't want to cap it and be like, most clients spend 10,000 with me. Cause I feel like when people get a number in their head,
No,
they're like, okay,
you
I'm going to
can't know
spend.
until you talk to
Right. So
them.
how do you pre-qualify beyond?
You
Cause
just
the
did.
1450 pre-qualifies 99% of them.
And you just did. Like most
Yeah.
of my clients then go on to spend, you can even just say most of my clients then go on to spend at least 10,000,
Yeah.
right? With regard to, because what you're saying is the creative process takes 1450. The
Yeah.
manifestation process is at least 10,000,
Yeah.
right?
I think I have the drop down. I think a big part of it is because so many people don't read and I have like pre-qualifiers before I even get on the phone with them. So I need to think of maybe maybe it should just be, are you comfortable with this investment? Yes or no? Like this is what most people
Or just simply
spend.
make a statement, like as you
Yeah.
say, that it's 1450, and then most of my clients go on and spend at least 10,000 with me, right?
Yeah. I think I like the drop down because it shows that they read it. Like
Either way,
so many people
that's just,
just don't read. And I'm
I
like,
agree with
oh,
you.
yeah.
Whatever you need,
Yeah.
and I think that's
I
important
like that idea.
because it is the manifestation that matters, right?
Yes.
Again,
Yeah.
and to give another example, like here you have, the real question is, forget about the creative process, which is your 1500. The
Yeah.
manifestation process is what it is. And so like just think about it for a second to be absurd about it. Imagine you have, Leonardo da Vinci in front of you sitting next to Michelangelo. And the person across says, I got like a, $1,500 to spend on you doing this stuff. I paid you your creative fee, but now I just
Mm-hmm.
need to make something happen. Can you do that? And Leonardo's like, yeah, I got this woman that she smiles kind of cute. And like, I think I could do that. It wouldn't be very big, but it'd be great. Right. So Michelangelo's like, yeah, I can't do the broom closet for that. Like, no, thank you. Right.
Yeah.
So the manifestation is just a number, right? It's the manifestation. So what clay do you need? Every
Mm-hmm.
artist needs a different amount of clay. I don't really care. You have to be the person who understands what clay do you need, because there's all different kinds of clay,
Yeah.
right? And there's one of like, hey, I'm just gonna like hit print on the printer and send it to you, right?
Yeah.
Great, right? Or am I gonna really get it done well? Make sure that they're printed beautifully and then framed incredibly well, right?
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like for
Yeah.
you, right?
Yeah.
And so that is what you want. And I think it's really, really important to not get lost in the value of the thing and the
Product.
ability to sell the thing.
Yeah.
And instead say, so here's the thing. If you're really good at between, you're really, really good between 10 and 20, the one thing you could say is like, I will never be able to show you anything for 30. Never. There's just nothing I would be able to show you. Right. That's too much for me. It's not what I do. If you want like, the whole like wall covered with an image, I'm not going to do that for you. And so you would say, Sean, what are you talking about? I could give up like a $50,000 sale. That's insane. It's not what you do. It's
Yeah.
not what you
Yeah.
do,
Agreed.
and it's not what they're about, and it's not who you are. And so, wouldn't you just rather say, this is the lane I'm playing in?
Mm-hmm.
And you're not necessarily capping it, but what you're saying is like, I'm really, 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 really good here,
Yeah.
right? Between
Yeah.
your 10 and 20 spend on what we're doing, I'm really, really good, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know it. I create these beautiful wall pieces. I create, whatever it is that I create for this money. I'm really, really good. So
Yeah.
the powerful piece and what feels so that is the manipulation that I hope that people give up. Because here's the thing, you wouldn't know how to spend $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
You would say that you would. You would say that why wouldn't I do that? But you wouldn't, right? You're not in those spaces. You don't play that game. You're not doing that work. And so the very idea is, could you ultimately go and do that? Yeah, but then you would have to live there. Then you
Yeah.
would have to live there as a business. Then you would have to say, I don't do 5,000 anymore,
Mm-hmm.
right? But so don't be allured by the possibility of this huge sale, right? When you're missing the idea of art is about, so what I go with that is like, why do you get paid to do what you do?
Yeah.
There's a real question. Why do you get paid to do it? Why do you get paid the amount you get to do a particular job? It's to get to do the next job.
Yeah.
That's why people get paid. If you got paid too much money, you rip somebody off, you're a human being, you're gonna feel bad, right? So then you're gonna undersell the next person. If you got
That's a good point.
underpaid, just like you say, you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna feel like resentful, and then that resentment is gonna carry over to the next client. You're gonna charge them too much money,
Yeah.
right? So getting paid what you need, no more, no less, has real meaning,
Yeah.
right? Because it means that you do what you do and you have a deep pride in it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that you know the lane you play in. And that you're willing to say, this is my lane and
Yeah.
this is what I know so well. And if this is who you are, this is the spend you want to have for yourself. This is how you want your family documented. I am, or myself documented. I am your person,
Yeah.
right? And if not, I totally understand, right? Because there are a lot of photographers that do much cheaper, and there's a lot of photographers that do more expensive, right?
Yeah.
God bless.
Yeah.
So I think that making sure that works is just so, so important. Yeah.
Wait, before I know you gotta go, will you talk a little bit about the business of being creative for those that don't know? And you have your podcast, but your actual business, if
Yeah,
you'll
my
talk a
actual
little bit
business,
about that.
I'm a consultant and I only work with very few people. But I love helping people with their business because, as I said, my business is helping people see the creative part of their business, not the creativity that manifests with it. And I love helping find alignment between the creative work and the business that's there to support it, right? And to create that business story that's exciting and fun, and that's what I do every day, right? And so that's what the business be creative is all about, and what I love being part of, right? And so I will do it forever. I've done it for 15 years. I'll do it
Are
for the
you gonna
rest.
write a book?
I would like to. I just
Please write a
I
book.
don't
Your
know.
words are so, it's just like poetry. Like I'm telling you, your podcast is, it's just one of my favorites. Every time I listen to it on my walks and I pause it. I'm like, yes, yes, he gets it. Yes. Like I quote you all the time. I
That's
recommend your
awesome. Thank
podcast to
you.
everybody. Write a book, please. Please write a book.
I will write a book. Thank you.
Because I made you, right? Shannon made
Because
me
you
write.
made me. I'll say
Better
to
write.
you, she
Yeah.
made me write it. Here you go.
Thank you
You're
so,
welcome.
like, this was so much fun. I really, really appreciate it. I know a
Yeah.
lot of people are going to take a lot from this.
This is great. Thank you. I'm so grateful that to you. This is really fun. Can keep writing.
Yay.
I love it.
Okay, I will.
Right.
Thank you.
Bye.
I'll
See you.
always write. Thank you so
Okay.
much,
Bye.
Sean. Enjoy the rest of
Bye.
your day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.